In recent years, I've seen a huge sentiment of people saying games nowadays are so low quality wise and that they want to go back to when games were more about quality over quantity. And whilst I can definitely agree games are not up to standard as they should be, especially for the price that you have to pay for them now, 70 quid by the way. But I wanted to look into it more deeply and talk about some other issues plaguing gaming, so I split it into 3 sections. Is gaming on a decline? Are you on a decline? And we'll leave the last section to when it comes up to it. So, looking at the first thing everyone points to is that games are definitely in a decline of quality, but are they really? For certain franchises, like Call of Duty, which has been on a decline for years and nearly everyone can agree, if they had just stuck to one COD and maybe over time updated it for years and made the game its best instead of pumping a new release every year and it slowly becoming useless slop, everyone would have loved it. Imagine Black Ops 3 with custom map support for consoles, kind of like the Far Cry 5 arcade editor, which is underrated by the way. That'd be insane for zombies, multiplayer, updating with consistent new DLC maps and more new specialists to shake up gameplay. I guarantee nearly everyone would have loved that. And the sentiment for COD speaks for a lot of annual releases, FIFA, 2K, and any game that releases yearly. And a common theme with these games is that they are nearly all multiplayer. Now, looking into some single player games, I think solo gamers have had some of the best games in the past few years. Spider-Man 2, Alan Wake 2, Dead Space Remake, all the new Resident Evils, Hi-Fi Rush, Armored Core 6, Cyberpunk 2077, controversially The Last of Us 2, God of War Ragnarok, and that's just a short list of some of the amazing games that have been given to us. Yet a common theme runs here: they don't hit the same as old games, and we'll get back to that later. So, who can we blame for this recent wave of games being pushed out uncompleted? Well, the studios mainly. They are pushing their developers to make games before deadlines to catch a good time in the market, overworking them to an uncontrollable degree and ruining the quality and integrity of the game. As even someone who loves what they're working on, when they're tired and overworked, won't want to put as much effort as they could into the project they're working on. This causes studios to delay the game, and that inadvertently ups expectations for the game and makes the release disappointing when it releases broken or buggy, or with a lack of content, or it's crammed with boring content. Because even with a game like Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League recently, with its amazing story and cutscenes, the actual missions are repetitive, and even if the gameplay is fun. And unfortunately, with new games, a common trend is the buggy release, or disappointing release, either missing core content we were promised, or just an overall lack of content, making games feel hollow and soulless. And that should just be the answer, right? Companies got too greedy in seeing how big the gaming market has gotten, opting them to instead push an unfinished mess to hit core deadlines instead of actually making a good game. But going back to what I was saying earlier about games not feeling the same, this is a perfect segue into Now with this section, I wanted to talk about the differences in life and how this may affect our thoughts and feelings towards games, and my main point here is attention span, because nowadays with the popularity of short form content like YouTube Shorts, TikTok and Instagram Reels, nearly everyone has a shortened attention span, and this to me is a huge thing not many talk about, and because of these lowered attention spans, people aren't as focused and can't focus on games that take longer to complete or play. Imagine taking an average person in current times and telling them to sit through a 20-minute unskippable cutscene. They would get bored in 2 minutes and hop straight onto their phone. And I know 20 minutes is an extreme case of cutscenes. I was going to say MGS4's 71-minute prologue, but I know nearly no one sat through that without checking their phone at least once. But it's just an example, and people don't have the patience. It seems weekly there is a new free-to-play game that people bandwagon hop onto, love the game, say it's another game's killer, or it's the next big thing, and then it dies in about a month. And it's not because of a lack of content or updates most of the time. It's the fact people are constantly moving, and this is also where another sentiment of gaming is boring stems from. It's an urge to need new content constantly, and it's a standard that nearly all games just can't keep up with. And I think that the start of this issue was actually Fortnite, as I remember back in 2018 when Fortnite dropped and it started getting a weekly updates, and with its bright colours and cartoonish style, every game wanted to be Fortnite because they saw its success, trying to push broken games with weekly content to keep up with the attention span of modern people. And it's only gotten worse over time with the short form apps I mentioned, making people within themselves feel stagnant, which translate to their favourite form of media, gaming. A lot of people, however, disagree and just say games were built so much better back in the day and that they were baked with more content on launch, which I would agree is true, and I'm going to make a video about that. But this is more about in general with games nowadays, and one of the reasons I've seen people bring up is that we're all getting older. You aren't that same kid just sat happy with the games that you had. because now you have responsibilities and life is complicated. But this sentiment definitely has its ons and offs, with the fact even young kids will regurgitate that sentiment, and it may just be a crowd mentality, but I feel it's way more than that. Going back to my point on shortened attention spans, even games back then, going and replaying them, they still don't hit the same. Why? One, you aren't in the same mindset you were back then, as it seems since COVID the world's been darker, depression and mental health issues are at an all-time high, so with everyone's emotions changing drastically, this reflects back to your opinions on all forms of media. Now, with all that said, I think overall the drastic emotional change in an environment, in people, and the world with a shortened attention span has ruined opinions and love for games. But once again, another great segue. Now this is where I'm going to begin to end it off and just give some thoughts and feelings on it with a little summary. So games have 100% had a decline in quality, and the landscape of games has changed from a medium of storytelling marvels to a bloated mess filled with live service games that would rather rush themselves out to meet deadlines and fix the game over time rather than being able to truly craft a love-filled experience. But again, there are still amazing story games out there. But the reason everyone's complaining is because they also don't have the attention span and passion left in them to truly immerse themselves in a gaming experience, due to the nature of the world's change. So I think it will differ from person to person depending on who you ask about whether gaming is dead, but the most common sentiment is games don't hit like they used to. But I think it's so funny to me, the people that will always complain most about this are the people that are in TikTok comment sections or YouTube Shorts comment sections, actively ruining their feeling and attention span towards games whilst complaining about their death. I think people need to just think to a time when you were happy playing games. And for me personally, when I think back on it, it's a time when I had a solid group of friends, when I would frequently see my family, and how times were simpler. I wasn't afraid to express myself without the scrutiny of others weighing me down. I was outside more adventurous, and I really enjoyed life. And it's gotten a little sentimental, but I think one of the huge current issues in gaming is just the nature of society that we live in. People aren't going out as much, people don't see family frequently, and for me it's just a distant memory in the past. But this is why I urge you to go out. Please find enjoyment in life, because becoming more social again will 100% help your enjoyment of games overall. You will most likely never feel the way you used to about games when the world wasn't so messed up, but you definitely will cherish your gaming experiences if you are a more sociable person. And it may sound patronizing, but I genuinely believe in that. I'm really sorry if a lot of this video is me seeming to repeat myself, and some of things may not be up to standard video wise, as I am just starting to try do this shit to like an advanced level, as this really is my passion, and I've got to try to get the script writing down so I can start talking less just through emotion and more of like logical standpoint. But it's been a video I wanted to make because of my passion for the subject, so if anyone does or is watching, thank you. I appreciate it, and I will improve over time. I'm going to try to sit down and make some less depressing videos, and hopefully it's only up from here. I don't really know how to like end this without it being awkward, but like, it's like, bye, thank you. It means a lot if you are like watching still, but thank you, bye.